Hi, everybody. Welcome to Capital to the Coast BNI. My name is Mike Manning. Each week, we bring you a local small business success story from one of the 41 chapters between the Triangle in North Carolina and Wilmington and areas on the coast. If you're not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International. It's the world's largest networking organization. And our goal each week is to help our fellow members make money. And our small business success story this week is Geoff Boone, realtor with the Boone team at Real Estate by Design. Geoff is with RD16 Research Triangle Professionals. They meet Friday mornings at 9 a.m. at the North Carolina Wesleyan Aspire building on Miami Boulevard. Geoff is the current president. So, Geoff, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Glad to have you on. So before we get going, Geoff's got a number of things going for him. Okay. Just a talented dude, all around fun guy, but he's got a couple of things going for him. One is talented realtor. Folks, in this day and age, you need somebody who knows what they're doing, not, somebody that just got their license a couple months ago. That's nice, but you need a seasoned veteran with all the interest rates going on and negotiating, all that good stuff. But the other good thing about Geoff is his wife, Amy, has also been on the show. And I believe, Geoff, you guys are the first couple. So we're just going to anoint you guys the power couple of Capital
Oh,
to the Coast BNI show.
well, that's great. That's a tremendous honor. Thank you.
Yep. No, glad to have you on. Um, so one of the things I like about you and Amy's relationship is both realtors with a family. Um, how do you guys manage the time and the schedule and everything with both of you on the go in the same industry?
Well, it's helpful. I mean, a lot of times it's a little overwhelming. I mean, you do have all your eggs in one basket in this kind of situation. So when the market's slow, obviously, that affects us across the board. It's not somebody on the other side who's getting another paycheck something somewhere else. So we balance it that way by we divide and conquer.
Yep.
All of our clients at least know both of us, not necessarily work with both of us, but at least know one of us in case we have to split up showings, or maybe I'm across town and I can do a showing for Amy quicker than she could
Mhm.
get there. In this market, obviously, sometimes you have to go quick. So before the house is sold. So, it helps us balance time. That way, we've got an 8-year-old kid, and we balance school pickup and soccer tryouts and all the things that he's involved in as well. So,
Uh,
everything is kind of in the same basket, which, while it seems a little chaotic, actually helps because we don't have anything outside of what we're already doing. It's
mhm.
all kind of mixed into the same bag.
Gotcha. I've learned a number of things from BNI. A lot of them have to do with realtors. Here's what tell me if my perception is correct on this. So we hear a lot of people now back in the day when it was 3 to 4% interest rates, everybody's getting their license. I think today probably there's around 12,000 licensed realtors in the triangle. They're pretty close.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we know 90% of them, I don't think have done a transaction, at least 75%, but maybe even a little bit higher. And back then, the theory was, oh, I'll just get my license. It gives me flexibility and all that stuff. And while those are all true, I don't think in real estate school they tell them what you and Amy and all the other seasoned, successful realtors have to go through is the time you put in with a client to be able to put your sign in their yard.
Oh yeah, no question. It's the biggest thing about real estate is that you have to have the business, right? You have to find the clients. You've got to have the people to work with, either buyers or sellers, and it's definitely that's the hardest part, is trying to figure out where you're going to get your business from. It's the classes, the real estate exam is not an easy exam. There's a lot of math on there that actually you don't really necessarily use, but you have to know how to use it,
Yeah.
and so you definitely have to get through some of the math part of it. I know people talk about that. uh, but yeah, it's finding the business once you've
Yeah.
gotten licensed, and once you get going and you've a comfortable spot to work for. That's the real challenge.
And you got to be a hustler too. I mean, you got to be out there meeting people with a plan, and it's not easy to grow a real estate book of business.
It's not. I mean, everybody. I mean, honestly, everybody knows a real estate agent just
Mhm.
about one way or another, whether it's their friend or the guy they went to college with or their mom's cousin or something like that. It's always somebody knows somebody. And so not only are you have to figure out a way to get past them in order to get the job. you also then have to realize that on the back end, while working with clients, there's some real estate agent talking to somebody else in the family about something you're doing or not doing, and so there's a constant battle not only to get clients but to keep them.
One of my favorite, well, I do a training for a number of the chapters. One of my favorite subjects to talk about when it's appropriate is the infamous Uncle Billy. Because I know
Yeah.
you've come across, no, my uncle said that it should be priced at 425, not 385. And then
Oh yeah.
the logical question is, so is your Uncle Billy in the industry? Oh no, but he loves the real estate industry. He's thought about flipping one day. I know you run across that, Geoff.
Oh, we watched this dad, and there's a lot of, oh, well, we saw an HGTV that you can do this, and we can take out this wall, and we can redo this. And I'm like, if you take out that wall, the house is going to fall
Yep.
down. But we can talk about options that you might have. But yeah, no, everyone, everyone's a real estate professional, whether they're in the business or not these days.
Yep.
Everyone learns all these things and knows everything. So
And I
it's,
think we can clear up the HGTV shows. It doesn't take a day to build a house, and it's not that cheap on the work you do. They have to that because one of the is Love It or List It came to the Triangle. I think they've come a couple of times.
yeah.
And the vendors that get on, the tradespeople that get on the show have to give all of their time, most all of their time away and their product to be able to have their logo seen on camera. So beware, Geoff. That's a great first best tip of the day. Be very wary of all those shows. And is that reality? And it is not.
No, it's great entertainment, and there's
Yep.
definitely you can definitely learn some valuable things in those
Oh, yeah.
shows. There's some learning to be done in there, but it's
Yeah.
not the whole story. So you definitely need to work with somebody who's
Yep.
who's keeping you apprised on everything that's going on.
And we can always tell when it's a house up north because it's like 1,400 square feet for $800,000.
Right, and everyone's budget is one. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my dad owns a gas station, and our budget is $1.3 million, and it's like some of these are not always the same. So it's an interesting story, and it's very entertaining, but
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not always how it works.
Which is another reason why you need a seasoned realtor to tell you, yeah, this not going to work out that way. So, all right. So you've been a realtor since 2014. Now, so you have interesting previous jobs before that, which we're going to talk about. So what got you into the real estate world and how did those discussions start coming about?
Well, I was actually, my wife Amy was in a BNI chapter. She sold payroll for Prime Pay back early 2000 teens. I'm not sure how to say that. But
Yeah.
like 2010 to 2013,
Mhm.
somewhere in there. And I worked for Frito Lay at the time. I did route sales for Frito Lay, and so I kind of had, it was sort of like having your own independent business at that point because you have your own route and your own clients and customers and things like that. So I did that, and I was looking for a career change. There just wasn't a lot of upward mobility in that for me, and I wanted to try to find something else that was, more, uh, well, made more money to be honest, but also to give me a little more freedom with my time and a little more independence. And so I sat down with a couple members of her BNI group and talked to them about what they did and kind of where their professions were going and opportunities that might work for me. And then I took I think it was called a career assessment test with a business coach from BNI, just to kind of give me a feel on what might be a strength of mine and what might not be, and maybe some areas I should look at. And one of the highest things I scored in was real estate. So I
Wow.
sat down with the legendary Paul J. Stinson
Yep.
from Durham fame, one of the great realtors here in Durham, and talked to him about real estate. And he was talking about at that time setting up a property management wing of his business. He wanted to hire somebody who kind of could do property management. And so I went to real estate school thinking I was going to go do property management for Paul. And then as I was in real estate school, I started thinking more about, okay, wait a second. Well, I have this sphere of business I could get business from, and I've got all these contacts, and I'd like to show houses, and maybe I would like to do this. And so, about halfway through the class, Paul called me to check on how things were going, and I said, "Paul, I think I might really want to try sales before I get into property management." And he said, "I really think that's what you should do." So that's how I did it.
Yeah, I in Florida in a previous life, I was a business broker, and we had to have a real estate license in Florida.
Yep.
So I had to take that test, and I've never taken the test before. It was all on the computer. Went to all the classes, all the good stuff. Take the test, and they never told us, "Oh, the score is instantaneous. We'll tell you when you're finished." And so I get done and I walk up to the front desk. I told the lady, "Hi, my name's Mike. I finished." She goes, "Yeah, let's talk over in the room here." It's like, oh man, I flunked it. Because like you only get called to the room when you flunk something, right? I get over there and she goes,
Yeah.
"Congratulations, you passed." I'm like, that's a hard test too. There's a lot of legal stuff, a lot of math stuff. So it's impressive to pass that thing. So
It's a tough test.
yep.
I'll tell you just a really quick story. When you apply for the real estate license and you get in the class, you start as you get towards the end of the class, you start hearing from lots of different real estate agencies,
Ah.
people trying to recruit you and just trying to get you to come work for them. And I don't want to. I'm not going to drop any names on here, or anybody, but I was speaking to one of the bigger firms, one of the national brands, and the lady was tremendous. I had gone and sat down with her and talked to her. The hiring, I don't know if she was a hiring manager, recruiter, or what she was, but she was great. And I really enjoyed talking to her. And I was interested in what they had to say. And I was like, well, I got to take my test next week. And she says, well, call me after you take your exam and we'll have you come back in and we'll meet some more people and see if we're the right fit for you. And I said, that's great. And so I took the exam, and as sure as could be, I failed it by literally by one question. I
Oh
literally missed it by
no.
one question, and I was devastated. And I was humiliated, honestly. I was like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, this is just a nightmare. So I have to call this lady, and I'm like, I can't remember what her name was. I'll just say it was Elizabeth for this purpose. But Elizabeth, I have to tell you, didn't I've got some bad news. And she goes, oh, honey, did you fail the exam? And I was like, I did. I was like, yes, ma'am, I did. And she goes, oh, sugar, 75% of the agents fail that exam at least the first time. Don't worry about that. Come on in and talk to us. And I was so humiliated. I'm like, hat in hand, this is my first thing I've ever done in real estate is fail the exam. Like, this is just not the start I was looking for. But sure enough, I passed it the next time
Yep.
and never looked back. But she was so supportive of me in that
That's
moment because I really
yep.
needed to be picked back up, and she was just delightful. So I will never forget her, and I remember
Good.
very vividly how much I
Good.
appreciated that.
Yeah, I've always in my schooling days, I always was a big fan of pass fail.
Yeah.
My odds are pretty, but if we're starting to talk like 85 or 88 to pass, I'm like, maybe not quite that high. So,
Yeah, I had to go back and restudy all the math you have to do on there, and I got
oh,
all that straight, and then that's how I got through it.
yeah. No, good job. All right. So on day one, so I see the picture behind you, the Boone team created 2015.
That's right.
So on day one, what was the marketing plan to tell everybody that you were open for business?
Well, as I actually met, it kind of ties into how I met Amy. I actually met Amy in a adult co-ed kickball league that we both played in
Mhm.
way back before we ever thought about going into real estate. And I that at the same time, the girl who had run that league was stepping down, and they needed to hire somebody to run that league. And I was like, you know what, I could use a little supplemental income. I'm doing real estate. It's going to take a while to build my business. So I took over running that league right as I was going to try to go get my license. And as it turned out, I lost my train of thought here. Uh,
About day one, how did you
I was trying to
market?
figure out how
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out how I was going to build my business and trying to figure out how it was going to work. And so I started to realize that as by running the sports league, I had this access to all these young professionals, these, kids, I won't call them kids, but we were kids, people in their 20s that were renting and just getting started and athletic and playing sports. And I played sports. I was a lot more athletic then, Mike, than I am now, but I did pretty good back then. I was okay. I was okay. There's going to be some people who are going to make some comments about this, but I thought I was pretty good. Anyway, I realized that I had access to all these people and that I could market myself through my league to these people. And so
Mhm.
we made clever like koozies, and we have lots of social parties and things like that. And we got the word out through that network that I was in real estate and that I was selling real estate, and I was able to get a lot of business initially right off the bat from that league and from some people who already knew and
Mhm.
who knew, like, and trusted me. There we go,
Yep.
who knew, like, and trusted me already through running the sports league and hanging out with them every Thursday or Saturday, whatever we were doing. And so that was really what really springboarded my business. And then, mid 2015, I was also in 2014 got married to Amy. And then in 2015, Amy decided to hop payroll sales and go to real estate. So that's kind of where the Boone team was born. And that's sort of what we were built off of.
Nice. Now, I believe I know the lady that used to run that. What was her name? What's her name? Waka?
Well, there was two. There was Kim Alexander before that, and then Bailey Robbins ran it after that.
There's because I met her through bowling back when I moved back to Raleigh in 2009. I ran the AMF Bowling Center in Durham,
Okay.
and a lady, I mean, no more than 5 feet tall. She was
Oh, there was a girl. There was a girl who ran the Durham League. We
that
had
was
our
it.
own separate branch that was kind of under
Okay. Yep.
our Raleigh branch. But there was a Durham, and I know, honestly I don't remember right off the top of my
Yep.
head what her name was. I didn't
Okay.
know her very well, but
Yep. But I like the fact that what you did and a lot of business owners struggle to do is lean into who they are, be it
yeah,
male, female, white, black, young, old, whatever. And like, well, I don't want to be known as that person. I'm like, you kind of do, but that's not all you'll do business wise. So to lean into that group, I thought was real smart because they knew you.
yeah. It's interesting. It worked so well for me, but what as I've been in this business now for I guess 11 years. I have a lot of people who are thinking about getting the business who always call me up and they're talk to me and they say, hey, what was the key? What really worked for you? And I say, well, what worked for me and continues to work for me is to be involved in extracurricular stuff, and that really means things that you enjoy, your hobbies, people out there seeing you do things that you enjoy, not just trying to sell them on stuff.
Mm.
So like I was able to build my business through my kickball league. I kind of aged out of running that league. We had a kid and had to start doing dad things. Now I coach and now I'm
Mm.
involved with all his things. But to do things that you enjoy and to let people see you enjoy what you're doing,
Yep.
and then also, oh by the way, I also do this in business, and this is
Mhm.
also another way that we could also connect. So the biggest thing I tell people is find something that you enjoy doing, whether it's a book club or church or anything it is that you're into, and then you can build your business that way.
Yeah, because we make the assumption that, oh, networking is only in a formal structure at a certain time, at a certain place. And you're right, networking is you're on the men's church group, or you're in a book club, or a track club, or a kickball league. I mean, the world you are in, that's who's likely going to want to hire you because they already know you. So I think that's great advice to people.
Yeah, I just think if you are trying to build business and you're trying to just sell people all the time, that's a hard
Yeah.
thing to do because people don't want to be sold. They want to get to know people. They want to be involved with you and see what you're about. And then it's like, I think I would really also like to work with you. You guys really seem like you know what you're
Mhm.
doing. I really want to work with you on this,
Yeah.
as opposed to just constantly trying to sell people. I think that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and I feel for there's some seats in BNI I feel for because you can't truly explain, you can't give a good demographic description of, I want to talk to the people that are looking to buy a house.
Mhm.
Some people I need to meet people that are driving this type of car and they have two kids and they live in this house, things like that. So how did your elevator pitch evolve as you started to understand who your ideal clients were?
Yeah. So, right. Everybody needs to buy or sell a house at some point, right? Everyone know, and
Yeah.
again, everyone knows somebody who's going to do it. So you have to figure out ways to make yourself stand out. And I always thought, like for example, when I go to visit any other BNI group that I go to visit, they always have a real estate agent, right?
Yes.
And so, like the first thing you can't do is go into that room and ask for business because they already have an agent in there that they're working.
Mm.
And so you have to figure out ways to make yourself memorable. Now, I do like to be funny. I try to
Mhm.
be funny. Probably try to be funny too much, to be honest, but I do like to use humor and I do like to keep things light. And so sometimes I'll, tell a story or an anecdote or just something that, about the business as opposed to necessarily asking for business.
Mhm.
For example, I tried to get into my first BNI early in my career. That's 2014, maybe 2015. It was really, I think it was fall of 14. And I was in that group. I was in a group, that I was trying to get in a group and there was several applicants in there trying to get in as well. And so I told a story. Just sort of was I think it was Halloween, and there was like a Halloween theme to the meeting. So your 45-second pitch was supposed to be something that involved Halloween. And so I was telling a story about what I'm afraid of, and I was like, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of heights. I don't love roller coasters, but what I'm
Yeah.
really afraid of is spiders. And so I kind of just told this crazy. I don't even remember the story, but I told a story about spiders and years down the road, I've run into a couple people who were in that BNI back in 2014, and they're like, Geoff Boone, right? You and spiders. How are you doing with spiders? It's just this funny thing, but I found a way to make myself memorable besides just
Yep.
saying, I work with buyers and sellers, and we are looking for buyers and sellers and buyers and sellers and buyers and sellers. Just try to find a different way
Mm.
to talk about my business or to talk about myself that helps people remember who I am and kind of what I'm about. So that's what I try to
Yep.
do. As far as the weekly 45-second pitches, honestly, Mike, now that I'm president and I run the meeting, I'm always so much thinking about running the meeting, and then like as we start doing our 45-second pitches and it starts to go around the room, I'm like, oh gosh, what am I going
Yep.
to talk about? Like I don't. I used to think about that on the way to BNI. I'm like,
Yep.
what do I want to talk about today? But now I think about running the meeting, and I got to induct somebody in the
Yep.
group, and I've got to do all these things, and then I get to the 45-second pitch, and I'm like, oh. So so
Yep.
I've had to recycle a few here and there. I've definitely, since I've been president, recycled a few,
That's
but
fine.
I do try to just talk about market
Yep.
conditions, or sometimes I'll talk about landscaping or things to
Mhm.
improve curb appeal, or just something to
Yep.
kind of help people know that I don't just buy and sell houses, but I kind of do know what I'm talking about as well. And I can talk about other things besides I just need buyers.
Yeah, in realtors, you can have a long runway with a client. I just was visiting the Carry Connections group. Jade Van Ert with Keller Williams is the realtor there,
Hmm.
and she was telling a story that finally a lady she's been talking with for 2 years, they're putting her house on the market this week because the timing was finally right for the lady. So that scares a lot of people. It's like, oh wait, I've got to wait maybe 9 months before I can get a paycheck because we sold a house. How do you guys deal with that with regard to keeping that sales pipeline full, knowing rarely you're going to meet somebody today who's going to put their house on the market by Thursday, usually.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand that most everything is a long play in real
Mhm.
estate. I mean, we it's interesting you bringing that up. We have some clients who we sold houses to back in 2015. We helped them buy and sell a house. Actually, right when Amy first got started, I think they were. She said they were her maybe her second or third clients. She was a provisional broker at the time then, so she had to have a full broker involved in the transaction as well.
Mm.
So it was me. And so I was involved with the transaction, and on our calendar, popped up today that she's meeting with them for coffee to talk about buying and selling and it said in 26. And so she's like, yeah, they reached out and we're gonna sit down and talk about, they're gonna sell their house and maybe buy something new. She's like, but we're so sorry. It probably won't be until 2026. And, Amy and I's kind of running joke is always like, hey, we got to eat in 26 too. So we might as well start building that business that way. So no, it's real estate is a really long play for some people, especially when people are thinking about selling. There's a lot of things that go into that. Where are they going to go? Do they have their ducks in a row? Their finances? Is the house ready to sell? Those things take time sometimes, and so you definitely have to be patient with other people's timelines and understand that we may be talking in April and they may not go see a house until October,
Mm.
or vice versa. So being patient with people and understanding that this is a long play, be there to answer the questions, be there to support them as they go through getting their homes ready to sell or getting their finances in order to buy. So be supportive and just let them push the pace and never make them feel like you're pushing them in any direction.
Mm. And one of the things I like to talk with folks about is certainly not asking any income numbers, but when you start a small business and you are 100% commission, a lot of times we get in trouble. We're not properly funded. So, did you and Amy kind of decide we can go this long without a paycheck, or how did you guys kind of navigate that?
Well, in my previous business, I had built up a pretty, not, I would say a decent, I guess it was a pretty good 401k that I was able to pull from. And I got some stock options through there
No.
over the years and had built up just a little bit. And so I was able to sell some of that stuff off to sort of support me as I got myself started. I was lucky enough to while I had what I thought was a pretty decent first year. I think it was four houses in the 7 months I was full time as a real estate agent, which wasn't a bad start at all.
No.
But I was very fortunate that 2015 lined up really, really well for me. I got a lot of business from the kickball league. I had some friends move to the area, I had some family move to the area. It just everything snowballed and was able to, really support me the way I needed it to. So it was able to allow Amy to leave her job
Mm.
and to also kind of go through that 6 month process where you're not really making a lot of money because you're going to all the classes and you're starting to
Mm.
figure out how you're going to build your business. So I was able to pull from some of that stuff and was lucky enough to have that because it's tough. It's a
Yep.
hard thing to go from not doing real estate to going full time real estate is a hard thing for a lot of folks to do. I was just lucky enough to have done enough in my previous job to be
Mm.
able to do that.
When did you know this was a really good decision to get into real estate?
Definitely. Well, I mean, 2015 definitely was definitely the bell cow. 2014, I felt good about it, and I had some really good experiences. But when we were going into 2015, I'm like, all right, this has got to be the year. I need to feel good about this. And so I was honestly the first 6 months of the year, I was a little bit busier than I could even handle at times. And Amy was on the back end, just kind of helping me organize thoughts and collect paperwork and things like that. And once she got into it and we started enjoying how much we like doing this together,
Mm.
it's just been the best thing ever since. So I've never looked back from them.
Yep. So I always ask husband and wife couples that are co-own. You guys co-owners of the business?
We are,
Okay.
yes.
Um, what do you talk about after 5:30, and who breaks the tie?
Oh, she's definitely the boss. There's no question about that. Um, but no, we talk a lot about real estate. We definitely, for example, Mike, we don't typically share clients and like we're both involved in all of the transaction.
Mm.
So like we might make sure the clients know each other so we can or know each of us in case one of us has to show a house or cover an inspection, something like that. But typically one of us drives the transaction with the client.
Mm.
The other one's in the background to bounce ideas off of and to share some thoughts with or frustrations or whatever that may be. So a little bit of it's that, so we have an 8-year-old. So a lot of it is conversations about whatever's going on in Rhett's world. And then sometimes we're like, oh, I'm just done with real estate today. Let's just have a beverage and, you
Yep.
know,
Now,
stare out at the grass and watch the grass grow. So
which one of you is more likely to utter the phrase, "Oh, hun, before we go to bed, let me check the emails one more time"?
Amy, Amy, we've always joked about this. We will go to bed and sometimes we'll be laying there and I'll just be about to drift off and she'll be like, "Oh yeah, by the way," and it's this information download that she dumps on me as I'm trying to go to sleep at 11:30, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me with this right now? We could have talked about this at 7:30 or 8:30 or 9:30. It's when I go to bed." So
Yep. So
she's
it.
definitely the one that's still thinking and checking emails at 11. I'm usually my brain by like 9:30 or so is trying
Yep.
to check.
I hear that. Plus, you got to get up in the morning with a little one, get him off to school, right?
That's right.
Yeah. You guys are part of Real Estate by Design. How important for people who are thinking about getting into real estate that are watching the show? How important is picking the right team to be a part of factor into this conversation?
Oh, I think it's really important, and I think a lot of times you see younger agents get started, and they will hop teams. And sometimes they go from company to company to try to find the best support that they can get, which is totally understandable. But who you work with and who supports you is, I think, the most important part of this business. Now, when I worked for Frito Lay, that's part of the PepsiCo brand, and so I used to tell people when I worked for them, I was the smallest spoke on the biggest wheel you could imagine. It would have taken you a week to find me in the Rolodex. Like you just couldn't do it. So when I wanted to go into real estate, I wanted to kind of go somewhere where what I did made a difference. Like had a bigger footprint
Mm.
than what I've had in the past. And that's not to say anything disparaging about all the big brands. There's a lot
Mm.
really great real estate agents and really great teams out there. But it's just for me, I wanted to do something on a smaller scale, local, and I wanted to kind of build something. I wanted to feel like I was part of building something. And so that was what I was looking for in the business. And I was lucky enough again to have the sphere with the kickball league and the things like that. I was able to build my business from. But for a lot of younger agents, it's hard to get started to, right out of the gate with selling a lot of houses. So you do need the support of maybe the bigger team or join somebody else's team or assist somebody or even just the bigger brand name can help you sometimes get some business. So
Yep.
I think it varies for everybody, but definitely you want to be supported, which I've always been really well supported with Real Estate by Design. And you want to feel like they're wanting you to grow, not just to make money off of you, but to help build your business and to help build their brand as well. I think that matters.
In your previous life as the sales rep at Frito Lay, selling, customer satisfaction, customer service, all the good stuff, what did you bring from that world that you applied to the real estate world?
Well, customer service, first of all, I learned knowing how to talk to people and understanding that, you interact with people but for me, back in the day, it was different stores. And so I'd go to different
Mhm.
stores and talk to different clients, and everyone's having a different kind of day and everyone's having a different experience with working with you and all that stuff. So understanding that you need to be even keel, never too high, never too low. You need to make sure that you are being professional, but also friendly, and you're trying to build relationships in that way. And so, what I think I learned more than anything else was just communication, talking to people, getting comfortable, explaining what I'm doing, and explaining why I'm doing it that way, and making them feel comfortable working with me. So I think that would be the biggest thing, was just learning to communicate with different, like, 25 different people on a daily basis, which necessarily you don't do in real estate, but
Mm.
it's understanding that everyone's different, every personality is different. This job doesn't change a lot, but the experiences people have do. So that's important to know.
Yeah. Uh, one of the one of the favorite questions on the show here for my married guest is, I believe I remember Amy answering the question, so now I'm going to ask you, uh, how did you two meet? You said it was in kickball, but more specific, how did you two meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
I think so. Amy, we were our kickball league had a sponsor bar, and so on Thursday nights we played kickball, and then everybody went to the bar for beverages and food and all that stuff after karaoke. We had all kinds of crazy stuff that day. So we would go back to the bar after the games, and so Amy was there one night, and she went to the University of Miami, and so she was
Mhm.
wearing a Miami Hurricanes sweatshirt, and my best friend Scott and I were both there, and we were both Virginia Tech guys. Scott went to Virginia Tech. I grew up at Virginia Tech. My grandfather was a university treasurer for 30 years. I lived on campus. It's home. It is home to me. So we were just having we were standing, honestly, we were standing across the beer pong table from each other. And this girl was a little chirpy, and she was wearing this Miami shirt. And if you know Amy, you know she's a little chirpy.
Oh, yeah.
She was wearing a Miami shirt. So Scott and I were teasing her, and she was giving it back to us, because back in those days, especially Miami and Virginia Tech were big football
Mhm.
rivals, and they still pretty much are, but they were really big rivals back then. So it was fun to poke each other and kind of get to know each other that way, and we became sort of friends. And then we found out that we both liked the same NFL team, so we went and watched football games the next day, and just became friends. We didn't date for 8 or 9 months after from the time I actually met her, but we just sort of became friends that way.
Yep. I remember the beer pong.
Yeah.
So back in the day, who was the better kickball player?
Oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble here. Me. I mean, probably me. I guess. I don't know. Amy's tough, man. She's
Yeah.
gritty. I'll tell you a quick story. We were. I think this was 2016. We were in the playoffs, and Amy was, played on my team. Obviously, once we started dating, we played on the same team from that point forward. And we were playing in a semifinal game, and we were losing. And Amy was 5 months. She was at the very end of being able to play, 'cause she was pregnant. She was at the very end of being able to play, and we our game ended up tied, and so the extra innings started with a runner on second base, and
Mhm.
the runner on second base had to be the last person who made it out the inning before, right? And Amy had been the last out the inning before, so she had to be the base runner, and she's 5 months pregnant,
Yeah.
and she, we got on base, players made plays, we scored a bunch of runs, but Amy scored the winning run. 5 months pregnant for the kickball championship. Well, for the semifinals, then we won the
Yeah.
championship, easy
Yeah.
enough. But it's that to me. You say the better. I'm like, I probably overall had a better kickball career, but I didn't do anything like that. So
Yeah.
better maybe me, tougher probably.
Yeah, and in both of your primes, I know you're a little bit taller than Amy is,
Yeah.
but if I needed somebody on my team to break up a double play at second base and just take out the shortstop, I'm sending Amy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She's the fighter in this group.
Yep.
I'm more the lover. She's more the fighter.
So are you 2 as you set goals, do you have a little fun competition between the 2 of you for a month or 90 days or something like that?
Oh no, I don't want any of that smoke. I don't want any part of that. Because then it would get into, well, I got to show the house. Well, then you got to pick up rent, and
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
whole thing. No, we don't compete. We are definitely very much on each other's side and in each other's team at all times as far as real estate goes. We want to. Our goals are our goals, and
Yeah.
so we set goals for us.
Yep.
early on, I definitely was a little ahead on sales, but Amy has long since surpassed me in that. So I have to just, yes, dear. That's why you're the boss, whatever you say. But
And
no, we're a great team, and she's a tremendous real estate agent, as everybody knows, and a great networker and a great BNI member as well. So
have you guys found out over time, though, kind of different skill set, subtle skill sets you have that are different within the real estate world? Kind of, call the other one up real quick. Hey, give me your thoughts on this or whatever it is.
yeah, I think we definitely have our different strengths. I think we're both pretty good at everything, really. But I think one of she's really knowledgeable. Like Amy just reads and reads and reads and reads. And reads. I don't do as much outside of the business reading as she does. I do more when I'm working. I'm working, and if I'm not working, I want to listen to a funny podcast, or I want to
Mhm.
listen to music, or I want to watch sports. I watch a lot of sports. Amy is watching that stuff too, but she's also scrolling on her phone and learning things. And so she's got more of an inquisitive mind, I think, than I do. So for me, it's the knowledge. Like if I've got a question, I'm like, I don't remember what's this called, or hey, talk to me about, what we did here back in the day or something like that, or what do you think this should be. I pick her brain a lot about the technical side of our
Mhm.
business. And I think for her, she talks to me a lot sometimes about, I got to talk to this agent about this. Talk to me about how you would approach this
Mhm.
another agent about something, or I'm going to have a conversation with the client. What do you think about how I should frame that conversation? So I think she's great at everything, but I think if I had to pick something, I'd say she's more the technical side, and I might be more a little more the emotional side
Okay.
of the business.
All right. So how in the world do you two have the same favorite NFL team?
Oh, I don't even want to talk about it.
Who?
We're Cowboys fans. It's embarrassing.
Oh,
I
God.
know. I
Tell me
see. It always
somebody
happens.
raised you better than
It
that,
always
Geoff.
happens, Mike. Every time I tell somebody a Cowboys fan, I have to hear a bunch of grief about it,
Oh,
and
my
it's well
God.
deserved. I understand that Cowboys fans are the. I'm looking in the camera. Cowboys fans are the worst. I get it. I know that. I'm not one of those fans, but I won't go watch games with Cowboys fans. I don't like going to the Cowboys bar. I don't. The worst.
How is she not a Dolphins fan?
Well, she didn't grow up in Miami. She grew up in. She grew up a lot. She was outside of Dallas for a while,
Oh,
and then
that's
grew up in
right,
Oklahoma
Tex.
City.
Yep.
Yeah, so she's
Okay.
from that way out
All
there.
right.
She was, and she fell in love with Troy Aikman when she was 4 years old. So
Who didn't, right?
she was in love with Troy the whole time he was there. And my family were all Washington fans. I can't
Mhm.
say the Commanders. They
Yes.
weren't the Commanders back then,
Well done.
but they were all Washington fans, except my dad was a Dolphins fan. And my dad, when I was a little kid, my dad told me, he's like, I will support you with whatever NFL team you want as long as it's not Washington.
Oh,
And so back in the day, if you'll remember, there was a TV show called The Dukes of Hazzard that used to come
yes.
on Friday nights at 8 o'clock, and it was everything was to get watch The Dukes of Hazzard before I went to bed. And then Dallas, the soap opera show, was on
Love
at
that
night,
show. Still one of my top 3 favorites. Yep.
and I was allowed to stay up to watch the opening credits of Dallas just to see the scene where they fly over the old
Yep.
Texas Stadium, and you could look down.
Yep.
They used to say that's where God would look down on America's
Yep.
team. That's what they call it.
Yep.
And so you could look down on that open roof and see this football field, and then I had to go to bed. And so I became a Cowboys fan because that was the coolest football stadium I'd ever seen, and the star was cool, and
Mhm.
the colors were
Yep.
cool, and I just became a Dallas fan, and I've been long suffering ever since.
There was a post on Twitter, I saw it yesterday. Dak Prescott and his wife had their first baby,
Yeah.
and they had a picture of them, in the hospital, and the caption on the Twitter post was, "I'm surprised the baby w the delivery wasn't intercepted."
Right.
Twitter's good when it's good, man.
Right. My first thought was nobody's better at Dallas in the offseason.
Yeah, I know, I know. Alright, so if I've got my information right, in 1997, you enrolled in New River Community College.
Oh boy,
What
we're
was the
throwing back.
what was the plan?
I wanted to originally. Well, I was a good enough high school student, but not a great high school student. And then when I got out of high school, I definitely wanted to goof off and play for a while. So I goofed off at a community college outside of Roanoke, Virginia, for a while, Virginia Western, and then I moved up to Virginia Tech, where I had some friends up there. And New River's sort of it's not the satellite from Virginia Tech, but it's the
Mhm.
closest community college to Virginia Tech. And so I went there for a while. What I really wanted to do was go into journalism. I really wanted to
Oh,
do. I didn't know if it was going to be broadcast or print, but I wanted to. I wanted to do something sports related in journalism. That's what I really wanted. And so my plan was to go there and get the 2 year degree or whatever from there. And then my girlfriend at the time graduated from Virginia Tech and moved to the Triangle for a job. And I wanted to come down here and I wanted to go to journalism school at Carolina. I didn't
Mm.
want to go to Carolina. I'm not a Tar Heel, but it's great school, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanted to do that. So my plan was to go into journalism, and then of course we came down here. We rented an apartment that we couldn't afford. I had to go into sales, business work, and I never went back. Never went to journalism.
Do we know where that young lady is today, Jeff?
Yeah, I know. She lives in Florida now.
Okay. All right. Are we still good?
Oh yeah, yeah. We got married. It was my first marriage. We had an amicable parting. We
Oh, I
didn't.
did
There
not
was
know
no.
that. Oh, I wasn't
Yeah,
going there. Okay.
it wasn't Amy.
I know. I just
Like,
thought you guys just broke up and drifted apart. My
no,
bad.
I did. I married my high school sweetheart, and we were together for I
Oh,
guess.
jeez.
Well, we were together from. I'm dating myself. 92 to oof, 2008, something
All
like that.
right.
2007.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, no, yeah, I do know where she is. Yeah, we do
Good.
still occasionally we'll message each other.
Yep.
Like when Jimmy Buffett died, she called me to make sure I
Yep.
was okay.
Yep.
That one hit me pretty hard, and so she's like,
Yep.
just checking in with you. You doing okay? And I'm like, all right.
My wife's sister and her husband been to probably 20 concerts. They moved to Virginia. He was former FBI, eh, Air Force and FBI, and they moved to Virginia when he was out of the Air Force working for the FBI. And they went through like 20 iterations of how to spell something that with Parrot Head because there were so many plates that
Yeah,
were taken, they had to shift and cut out a vowel or things like that. But they got it. But yeah, they were diehard as well. That was a tough day for them too.
yeah. I love Jimmy, man. That one hit me hard.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm a full blown parrot head, but I definitely went to a bunch of concerts and listened to his music all the time. Still, my favorite song is a Jimmy Buffett song, and
Yep.
all those things. So.
Oh yeah, man. That all matters. So, but yeah, they're huge fans. They got stuff in their garage that's hanging up all.
Oh, I love it. I
Yeah.
love
So,
it.
all right. So, do you prefer sellers or buyers?
Well, I like both.
No,
I
not
like
an
both.
answer. Got to pick me
I
one.
know, I got it. There's a different pressure involved
Yep.
with each. Typically when you're working with a buyer, you can advise them, you can show them as many houses. They're going to pick the one that they want, and then you have to figure out a way to get it for them. But sometimes they can only do so much, or they're only willing to offer so much.
Mm,
They control the transaction a little bit more. So they are the ones more responsible. Like if we don't get a house because they were outbid, then they were just outbid.
yeah.
That's not something that I can't make up the difference in money by doing other realtor tricks. It doesn't work that way. So we can structure our offers to be more appealing and do those kind of things that maybe we do edge somebody out that's close money wise with better other things in our offer. But it's it's uh, harder to do it as a listing. The listing is harder on an agent because there's a little more pressure.
Okay.
I have to stage the house. I've got to price it. I have to help them figure out how to get them all their stuff organized and get them ready to sell. And so when you list a house and then it doesn't sell, especially in a market where everyone assumes things are going to sell
Mm,
first couple of days, it's not like that anymore. But it was like that for a long time. And then it doesn't happen. There's a lot of pressure involved with that. So I like doing both. I like the hunt of working with buyers. I really like showing houses, and I like going and winning. I like to win, very competitive. I like to win offers. I like to do that part of it. I would probably say I probably prefer working with buyers, and Amy probably prefers doing listings. It's if we had to both pick one, I think we would be on the other side of each other.
mhm.
But I think it's close.
So my question is, I never wanted to be a realtor, but I would not want to represent a buyer during the fall if my football team was playing at 3:30 on a Saturday and I got to show them 7 houses. How do you do that?
Well, first of all, I give all my clients the schedule. These are the Saturdays I'm not available. No, I don't do that. It's one of those divide and conquer things again, Mike.
Yep.
Sometimes Amy doesn't go to every Virginia Tech game. I am a Virginia Tech guy. I don't go to every
Yeah.
game anymore, but I do go to most home games. But Amy doesn't go to every home game. She doesn't care about going to see the Virginia Tech play all that much. She goes once or twice a year.
Yep.
She can lag behind, or we stay and work on Friday, or we come back, get back and drive back Sunday morning, or I've shown houses Saturday morning and then gone to a night
Mm,
game before. We structure it around. I mean, look, ultimately the buyer is more important than going to the game, right? So like if
yeah,
there's a situation where I have to stay in town and cover something, I will. But the great part of having a partner that's also my wife, that's
mm,
also, same household,
yep,
is if she's not there, she can cover for me. So she
nice.
covers for me, I cover for her, and that's how we do
I saw the video of Metallica finally playing at the Virginia Tech Stadium, and folks,
it. Yeah,
if you so Virginia Tech's football team, they entered the stadium, I believe, to enter Sandman, right?
that's right.
For years, right? Longer than
25 years.
yeah,
They've been doing it for
okay. I knew
25
knew
years.
as well. And Metallica had never played there, so Metallica finally played a concert there. I think it was in like the last 3 weeks or so.
May 7th.
And the last song I believe was Enter Sandman. And when they started playing, it registered as an earthquake, folks. That's how many people were in the stadium jumping up and down wanting to hear that song.
It was a spiritual
That
experience.
is a fan base
It
right there.
was the greatest. They are Metallica has been my favorite band for years, and so it was. I mean, it was almost emotional. Like it
Oh, you
ended
were
after it ended, and
there.
I just sort of sat there and was, oh yeah, we were there.
Oh, good for
We were the
you.
we went and we took Rhett. That was Rhett's first concert, and so the Rhett's
Oh,
first concert, all he wanted to do was see Enter Sandman. He had to wait till the very end of the
yeah.
show.
Yeah.
I think he had his headphones on and was doing other things for most of the concert. But
Probably,
when it
yeah.
was time for Enter Sandman, he was ready to rock.
Oh, I bet yeah, I'm not a huge Metallica fan, but for that particular moment, what it means to that school, I bet that was impressive.
Been waiting for it for 25 years. And, there used to be rumors about it back in the day. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe they're going to show up and play. And I'm like, I don't think you're ever going to get Metallica to show up and play a 2 minute
Yeah.
hook on a song just so a football team can run out. It's never going to
Nope.
happen.
Nope. Nope. No.
But they did. They came. They were great about it. They worked great with the community. They were super super great to everyone involved. And what an incredibly special thing.
Yep.
I'm so grateful I was
Yeah. And that was a big old stage too, wasn't it?
there. It was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big stage,
Yep.
and there was crazy people on the ground. I don't mind being on the floor for concerts, but I wanted to be up in the stands for
Yep.
Metallica.
I hear you. I hear you. All right, so let's give a couple more tips. Somebody's thinking about getting their real estate license. What one or
Hold on,
two
I'm not done here.
what one or
Sorry.
two things do they need to be questions they need to be able to answer or things they need in place to move forward and get started to become a realtor?
Well, I think you need to have a plan financially because again, you're not likely to jump in and make a ton of money right away. It's
Mm,
possible. Maybe you get lucky, or maybe you do have a structure already set in place where someone's going to support you. Or you can hop right on a team, and they're going to help you through that. But you need to have an idea of where that's going to come from because it's going to take a little
mm,
time. The other thing you need to think about is how am I going to build my business? Is it do I just want to hop on one of these big teams and just ride the coattails for a long time and see how this plays out and go a slow build, or do I want to try to do my own things, start my own maybe my own team, or do my own individual thing, and then how am I going to build it? Whether it's going to be through networking, whether it's going to be through your friend group, or you've got a church group, or anything that you do. Again, extracurricular. I talked about it earlier. Um, how are you going to build your business? Because again, everyone knows a real estate agent, and you're going to
mm,
compete against a lot of really great real estate agents in the area, and it's going to be hard to build a business to start. So, how are you going to do it? How are you going to afford to do it?
yeah.
And understanding that it could be a long play.
Yeah, the stories I hear from realtors about the length of time but you stay in touch with them. And that's the key thing. Like Jeff, I'm not doing anything until January 1. But I know you and Amy, it's a quick email here and there, drop by their
Right.
office or something, but just building that relationship and keeping it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to keep touch with your potential clients, but you also have to keep touch with your past
Mhm.
clients. You send them. We send these cool little dessert cards out, little postcards that just go out once a month. It's just got a recipe on it. We
Yep.
don't call people and badger them, but it's just got our little recipe for the little dessert that comes out each month. And people love it. They remember us that way. They stick it on the refrigerator. Sometimes they
Mhm.
make them and send us pictures of us making them. And then, of course, lately we've been dipping a little more into this, excuse me, into the social media scene. And
Mm.
we're doing funny videos and trying to do some things to just sort of keep ourselves top of mind. But yeah, that's
Okay.
sort of, you got to stay in touch with not only your current, but your past clients as well.
Yeah, and folks, you need to find a way to sell without selling. And those monthly postcards, all that is a wave. Hey,
That's
folks,
it.
still around. Hope you're doing well. Top of mind. It's
Yep.
just a wave, and it's simple, and most people appreciate those recipes, don't they?
Yeah,
So,
that's one of the more fun things that we do is we get people will post on Instagram, thanks Boone team, or thanks Geoff, or thanks
yep.
Amy for this idea. This was delicious. So it's always fun to hear when people are enjoying this. We switched one year. We decided we were going to switch and do like home improvement tips instead. And like the first month, people were okay with it. They were like, "All right, this is a one off." But by the second month, we were getting blown up with complaints. Where are the recipes? What are we doing with this? I had to literally call the company and be like, "Hey, we gotta switch this. I'm getting hammered here. We can't do this for a whole year." People wanted them,
Nice,
and I got to be honest, that was a Paul Stinson tip too. He did those dessert cards when I got started, and he taught me that. So
nice.
I
But
had I've had a really good support system with Paul and with
yeah,
Lisa Ellis and the people through Real Estate by Design over the years. So really
yeah, I know Lisa a little bit. I used to work with her chapter.
yeah, she's
Uh,
the best.
yeah,
Lovely.
yeah. So, folks, this goes all the way back to the beginning of the show that Geoff mentioned is you can't always be selling and making somebody buy something. You got to build a relationship, talk about whether it's just a drop by or a postcard with a recipe on it or something. Keep up with their birthdays. You know, if you find out they have a kid, all those little things are going to keep you top of mind with your future and current clients that are going to help get you the deal that you're looking for, just little things like that. So please take tips from pros like Geoff. All right.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
Geoff, we'd enjoy having you on the show today, folks. We've been putting Geoff's phone number out there. Geoff, what website do you want him to go to check out more of the Boone team?
You can go to www.thebooneteamnc.com. You can also go to realestatebydesignnc.com. We're on there as well. We are on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I don't think we're on TikTok, but we
Not,
might be.
not
I've
yet.
got a social media girl who takes care of all that stuff. I don't believe we're on TikTok yet,
Okay.
but we are on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Well, good. We've enjoyed having you on the show today. Appreciate all the good tips you've been sharing. Good luck the second half, almost the second half of 2025. And we will see everybody next time on Capital to the Coast BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.